Osino Resources is a Canadian gold exploration company focused on the discovery of gold in Namibia's prospective Damara Gold Belt. CEO Heye Daun was born in Namibia and has over 20 years of experience with top-tier mining companies. He spent the first 10 years of his career with Rio Tinto, Anglo Gold Ashanti, and Gold Fields, building and operating mines in Africa. After finding and selling a gold mine a few years ago, he seems to have a new winner again. Heye Daun on recent developments at Osino Resources.
Mr. Daun has pre-recorded his presentation, and let's just look at that.
Thank you all for listening to my presentation. My name is Heye Daun. I'm the CEO and founder of Osino Resources Corp. Let me just share my screen here so I can take you through my presentation. So Osino Resources is a gold exploration company, an advanced gold exploration company, active in Namibia. We are relatively new, but we have grown tremendously over the last, especially the last year or two, with this brand new discovery that we made in this emerging gold district in Namibia. But Osino didn't come to this point from nowhere. There's always a history that I just wanted to share with you briefly, which is very relevant. And that is, in 2010, I, together with my colleagues, acquired a project in Namibia called Otjikoto. We took that public, and it was a classic sort of junior exploration development success story. After 2 years of drilling that project and doing a preliminary economic assessment and de-risking it, we ended up selling that project to B2Gold in 2012, who built a very, very successful gold mine on it. And that gold mine is now around about between 20% of B2Gold's production. So it's arguably a $1 billion company, which we sold to them for far too cheaply, for $200 million, as I said, in 2012. But nevertheless, that was a nice success, and B2Gold with that project demonstrated how successful these type of lower grade, large tonnage deposits in Namibia can be mined. And that was really the entry point for Osino. Being a Namibian citizen, I'm a mining engineer, and I was born in Namibia and grew up there and worked there for a large part of my life. It was logical for me to try to do it again, and really Osino Resources is my attempt to do that again. So after that sale to B2 in 2012, as you all know, the gold markets turned. It was very difficult to raise money. And during that time, I put together a large grant position. I managed to secure some key shareholders, and with a lot of my own family money, we got going with this company, which we then took public in 2018, and which, as I said, lately has been having quite a bit of success. So, of course, there's a disclaimer. I'll be making some forward-looking statements. You know all about that. So just in summary, the key takeaways on Osino. I mentioned we are a Namibian gold exploration company listed on the TSXV. We have a very large land position, but most importantly, we recently, basically in August last year, we made this exciting virgin greenfields Twin Hills gold discovery. I understand that the Commodity Discovery Fund invested in us shortly thereafter. We are currently in the process of fast-tracking that discovery, but also continuing with exploration on the rest of our exploration grant. We are a proven team. I mean, it's not just me. I have some very good technical people, and my co-founding partner, Alan Friedman, who's based in Toronto, has done these sort of mining deals with me before. And so, you know, we've raised money, we have built companies, and we've sold companies. In my case, I've had about 3 successes in the mining game. The first one was with the Otjikoto project, which I sold to B2Gold. Thereafter, I ended up merging a company with a Ross Beatty firm, which became Lumina Gold. And in that process, I got to know Ross, who I guess took a liking to me and sort of respects me and became our biggest investor, and he's still the biggest shareholder in Osino. Of course, we are in Namibia, which is an exceptional country, not just scenically beautiful. I'm sure that most people on this call probably know it, might have traveled there. But very importantly, it has low political, social risk, and is relatively easy and straightforward to permit mining operations in Namibia. Being a Namibian citizen myself, of course, I know my way around there. I mentioned that we are well funded. We have Rosbeati and a bunch of other blue chip institutions who are supporting us, including the Commodity Discovery Fund. And with the two recent financings that we've done in 2020, we are completely cashed up, probably all the way to construction, with very strong bank and brokerage support. And I think that has been a key part of our success, especially this year. In terms of ownership and share structure, we have currently just over 100 million shares out. About 15% or so, a bit less, is owned by Rosbeati, about 8 or around about % owned by my family and my partners. And then we have resource capital funds who've been there pretty much from the beginning. They are the second largest shareholders, owning just over 10%. And then a bunch of sort of high quality institutions that make up about a third of the share register. We also have quality investors in Switzerland, Germany, Holland, who I've grouped under the retail basket over here. So well-balanced, still quite tight share structure with investors or shareholders who've got a long-term vision. There are some warrants, which are, most of them, not all, but most of them are in the money. And if you add them all and you calculate our share position on a fully diluted basis, we have between 25 and around about $40 million cash in the bank. Of that, I should say 25 right now is cash, and about 25 is additional cash that would come in with the conversion of these warrants. So currently a market cap of around about, this one indicates 160 million, it's currently actually more like 140, 150 million Canadian dollars. We do have good broker support from Toronto. Our main champion used to be or is Tyrone Breitenbach. He's recently left Stifel GLP to join Cormark. But there are a bunch of other analysts who are covering our company with the target prices you can see there. Most pleasingly, we've had an excellent share price performance this year, not just related to the gold price like most others, but also related to the increasing awareness with this discovery that we've made, and also the sort of de-risking and execution of our work program and ongoing good results. I mentioned in terms of management, we know what we're doing. So I'm the CEO and founder. Alan Friedman, my partner, he's a public markets veteran based in Toronto. I should mention I'm based in Cape Town. I live in Cape Town. I'm close to the action. My key role is execution. That's what I'm very good at. I know how to get things done. I'm good at that. But as you all know, keeping close to the street and close to investors is equally important, and a lot of that Alan does, who's based in Toronto. And by the way, he did the last deal with B2Gold with me in 2012. So we've got a close working relationship, have had that for many years. But discoveries are not made by promoters. Discoveries, I'm a mining engineer, Alan is a lawyer. Discoveries are made by good geologists, and I'm very proud of the two key geologists we have. One of them, Dave Underwood, he's ex-Anglo Gold like me, and John Andrew, ex-BHP, both of whom are very credible and experienced quality exploration geologists. And the way I always like describing them is they complement each other very well, where Dave has got a lot of the gold experience and the sort of exploration vision, and John is brilliant at implementing and managing programs. And basically he built our entire infrastructure in Namibia. We've got about over 70 people in Namibia now. He built it from scratch. He was employee number one, and together these guys guided us to the discovery that we made, which we are now accelerating very rapidly. I mentioned we've had a fair amount of success. In my case, I've had two successful exits. One of them was Oryx Gold. The company was called Oryx Gold. It was on the TSX, which we ended up selling to B2Gold. And the other one was a company called Ecuador Gold and Copper, which was a turnaround situation, which I ended up merging with a Rosbeati company and became Lumina Gold. Now, this is very relevant because in this merger, I got to know Ross personally and in great detail, and vice versa. And so he took a liking to me, I guess, and became Osino's biggest shareholder and biggest supporter, and continues to be to this day. And in fact, with him or through him, we were able to attract a range of other quality investors. Through my partners, we've been involved in some other African deals. Point I'm making is we know how to build companies, we know how to add value and how to sell companies and how to take projects forward. Briefly on Namibia, I said as a Dutch audience, I'm sure you guys are very familiar with Namibia, having traveled there, a lot of you, I would imagine. But just a few comments. It's of course a desert environment, it's very dry. For those of you who haven't been there, you can imagine it to be similar to Western Australia, Nevada possibly. It's very organized, it's socially very stable, it's got a stable government, and low levels or relatively low levels of corruption, and it has a very well functioning mining code, and it has a very well established mining industry. Two additional points which have become more relevant quite recently is because of the peg of the Namibian dollar to the South African rand, we have a very weak currency. And that makes operating in Namibia cheaply from a US dollar or hard currency perspective. And again, that's one of the reasons that B2Gold is so successful in Namibia. The other key takeaway, again, which B2Gold demonstrated, is how relatively straightforward it is to permit projects in Namibia. So once you've drilled the project out and you've convinced yourself of the economic merits, it's relatively easy to permit these projects to construction and production. So on this map here, you can see that's just obviously Namibia. The B2Gold project is up there where my mouse cursor is. And then our project is further in the central part of the country, in the same belt, close to a currently producing gold mine called Namibia, which used to be owned by Anglo Gold. So we are perfectly located, not just in terms of country jurisdiction, but also specifically in terms of the location within Namibia, where we are very close to infrastructure, roads, railway, power, all within probably 5 kilometers of our project. And that's going to have a major impact on the capital intensity of this project, which I believe is going to be one of the lowest capital intensity projects in Africa right now. And we are in the process of doing economic studies to demonstrate that and prove that. Just very briefly on geology, most people are not familiar with Namibia as an emerging gold jurisdiction. And there's a good reason for it, because it only has 2 gold projects currently. Ours is a third. There's another one, smaller one. But even though Namibia is relatively easy to access and has had geological exploration for a century almost, since German colonial days, but despite that, not much has been discovered. And the reason for that is very simple. It is because most of Namibia is undercover. So as you could see on that initial slide of this presentation, the country is flat and it's covered with a varying layer of sand and calcrete. Calcrete is like a cemented solid layer at the top. And this cover on top of the bedrock is what makes exploration complicated. Now, that's a blessing and a threat in a way, because I say not a threat, but it's a challenge, because it makes exploration difficult, because the good stuff, the minerals are in the hard rock underneath that cover, but conventional exploration techniques don't work as well through this cover. But the blessing is that because of this, not more has been discovered and lots more will be discovered. And I think Osino is the prime example for that, where we discovered a major gold project, which is going to turn into a multi-million ounce resource. I have no doubt about that in the next year or two. But we discovered it 20 kilometers away from a known gold mine, which has been crawled over by the Anglos, the Goldfields, the German colonial geologists, and various other Namibian geologists over the last couple of decades. So briefly speaking, this is or geologically speaking, this is the sort of sedimentary Pan-African age mineralizing belt that runs through central Namibia. It goes all the way into the Zambian copper belt, and it is an orogenic belt. So orogeny refers to the process of mountain building, and it implies that mineralization is associated with structures which are formed from tectonic movement, and they give rise to deformation, folding, and faulting. And these folds and faults and these structural processes I've just described in high level are the conduits for mineralizing fluids, which deposit and then form ore systems or mineralizing systems. Now, until fairly recently, probably around 10 years ago or less, people didn't explicitly see Namibia this way. So, I mean, we didn't invent this thinking, we just applied it here from elsewhere. But I think now everybody agrees that Namibia is a classic orogenic belt. This implies, in the Namibian context, generally large tonnage, lower grades, and the other two gold deposits in Namibia are showing that. But because of its unique nature, meaning easy metallurgy, low operating costs, even at these relatively lower grades between 1 and 1.5 grams per ton, these gold projects can be or are highly profitable. And there are some analogs in the rest of the world of these type of belts. And in fact, what you heard Chris earlier from Great Bear Resources, in many respects, what we are doing and our geological architecture over here is very similar, in fact, to Great Bear from this orogenic perspective that I've just explained. So excellent exploration potential still on the rest of this belt. And you can see there's our project, that's the ex-Anglo one, and up there, that's the BT Gold one. So when Osino was started, we were a consolidation story. You know, I built this company to build something of scale, and I knew in order to do that, we needed to have land position. So we acquired over 22 licenses over the last few years in the downturn. Most of these are relatively unexplored, underexplored, or completely unexplored, and are at a relatively early stage. So for example, this basket next to B2 Gold over here, we've identified a bunch of targets, and we're in the target testing stage. Over here, we are in the target generation stage, so even more early stage. But the most important part, where we are most excited about and where we spend most of our time and effort, is this district down here. So this is the Caribou Gold District, which I will be zooming into successively in the next few slides. You can see on this slide quite nicely that we consolidated the entire district. We were brought into this area by this 6 to 8 million ounce historical resource, which Anglo used to have. And we have a bunch of gold showings, gold discoveries, gold prospects, and one very significant discovery, which we are drilling right now. You can see some of these, some of the drilling results that we've been having. You can see there clearly large tonnage, very disseminated, very continuous, classic sedimentary hosted, sort of turbidite sedimentary hosted, with the gold mineralization structurally controlled mainly. And you can see these type of intercepts, very thick package. In fact, this is quite unusual for an orogenic gold deposit. And then later, as we kept on drilling, you can see higher grades up to 2.5 grams per ton, 1.5 grams per ton, 90 meters, 40 meters, 60 meters. So a thick package, very disseminated, very continuous, lends itself to being built, lends itself to being mined, and lends itself to large volume, multi-million ounce type deposits. And our neighbor here, Novichok Gold Mine, is the best example for that. They built that mine on an 800,000 ounce resource 30 years ago. It's been in production since. It's produced 2 million ounces, and it still has around about 5 million ounces left. So that's the kind of growth potential that you could find, or that you will find in this district. So I'll go into a little bit more detail, just a couple of more exploration slides, and then I'm almost done. So the Twin Hills project is the discovery that we are so excited about. You can see in these two images here, just the exploration history and the work that Osino has done over the last 5 years. So we started off, there's the Novichok mine, it's 50 kilometers away. We acquired these two licenses. We took a fresh look at it, a non-blinkered, non-dogmatic geological look. We used government mag, which is available in Namibia. It's world-class, to identify a large regional structure. We then executed a very large systematic sampling program along that structure, which showed up coincident mineralization, all the red dots over here. We then traced that mineralization along that structure, and eventually we made this discovery, the Twin Hills discovery over here, initially outcropping and very quickly going undercover, which is where we are currently drilling. So it's been an exciting couple of years. So just a little bit more detail on the gold district. This is just another image. You can see the blue is the license outline that we have. We currently have about an 80 kilometers of that structure, or that trend, that gold trend, we have consolidated under our control. We are on trend with the Novichok gold mine. And you can see over here, Twin Hills is about 20 kilometers away as the crow flies. So there's some very significant synergies potentially if one was able to put these two together. That's an M&A angle that could become an interesting part of Osino going forward. But for now, it's a little bit speculative. So for now, we are focusing on the Twin Hills discovery, and our objective is to drill it out and advance it to the project stage and actually the production stage as fast as we can. So I'm just going to zoom into this area a little bit. So over there, you can see it's a bit of a busy image. This is an IP image. The red areas are areas of future potential. Here, this is a classic setting. You've got a major structure here, and our discovery was made on splays off that major structure. You can see the area in the central here. We call that Twin Hills Central. That's where we're drilling currently. In fact, we have 8 drill rigs over here currently drilling all these blue holes, and they will be completed by the end of October. Twin Hills Central currently is about 1.3 kilometers. It has been drilled over 1.3 kilometers strike length, and we're extending that to more or less 2 kilometers strike length right now with that drilling. We plan to have Twin Hills Central at the maiden resource stage early next year, and then to follow that up with a PEA very shortly thereafter. So a very rapid advancement from discovery to the resource and the economic stage. In fact, I believe out of our peers in West Africa and elsewhere, I think there are very few companies that are advancing their projects as fast as we can. Maybe Tieto Minerals in Ivory Coast, some of you would have looked at that. I think that's a good comparison to us there, a couple of months, maybe 6 months or a year ahead of us. But that's just Twin Hills Central. You can see that the Twin Hills gold system as a whole is this. It's about a 15-kilometer surface expression. That red contour is the surface expression. That's the geochem contour. And basically imagine it like a string of pearls where Twin Hills Central is the main jewel in the middle. But we have expectations that we will make additional discoveries elsewhere along this trend as we drill out all these holes. I think I mentioned we've got a very, very busy drill program. We're going to drill about 35 to 40,000 meters this year. We have 8 rigs on the property, currently all of them on here. But from the end of October, they will branch out and do a lot of this exploration drilling on the rest of the trend. So I think lots of news flow, exciting times, some very, very good targets here that we will all test in the next couple of months, culminating in the resource and the PEA sort of Q1 next year. This just, okay, last bit of detail. I've been briefed not to give too much geological detail, but we're so excited about this project that I have to. So this indicates a drilling layout of 50 by 50 meters on Twin Hills Central only. The reason I like showing this slide is because most people kind of still view us as an advanced exploration story, and I'm saying we are actually on the cusp of being a developer. This drilling will get us to the inferred resource stage. You can see this area in blue here. That's a leapfrog outline. Leapfrog is like it's a 3D quick and dirty modeling tool that gives us the confidence that our initial maiden resource, which we plan to bring out early next year, is going to be in the 1.5 million ounce plus range. This is obviously non-43-101, so I've got to be careful what I say, but we're quite confident that we're going to be in that ballpark. And you can look at these drilling results yourself. So yeah, quite excited, and I think Twin Hills Central is going to advance from here very, very rapidly. My second last slide. So this is our work program, very, very active work program. I mentioned earlier, we got something like 75 people working in Namibia. We've got 8 drill rigs, 15 vehicles, 12 geologists. So very busy, mainly drilling, both diamond and RC drilling on Twin Hills Central, plus the satellite brownfield targets, but also doing conventional textbook exploration on the rest of our targets and on the rest of our license position in the rest of Namibia. So geochem, mapping, stream sediment sampling, surface sampling, etc., etc. And then on top of that, the yellow areas in the slide here are the development studies which we have initiated. So we've done phase 1 met test work that's gone out in the press release a few months ago, which, sorry, that's my timer. I've got a few more minutes left. So that met test work was done earlier this year. It indicated up to 94% recovery, so no fatal flaws over there. We followed that up with having appointed Lycopodium, a very credible Australian project builder and study manager, who are now doing the phase 2 detailed metallurgical test work and all the components of the PEA which we plan to put out early in the second quarter of next year. So in total, about $11 million of spending for this year, which will leave us with about $20 million in the bank by the end of this year. So extremely well financed. We can do everything we want to do, everything we want to do and more, and really advance this project. So that's my last slide. So in summary, why us? Basically, we know what we're doing. We've got a track record of value creation and exploration and development success. We've got an exciting new discovery, so we are technically largely de-risked. Now it's almost a mechanical process of drilling it out. We're in an excellent jurisdiction and location, I mentioned that earlier, and we fully funded with a great bunch of shareholders, including the Commodity Discovery Fund. We still have a large pipeline, and then there's a possibility of M&A in our neighborhood in the next couple of months. Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.